Olá, meu nome é Luana Ferreira e hoje eu estou aqui com Gabriel Cousens. Gente, o Gabriel é um dos meus mestres, uma das pessoas que me ajudaram nesse caminho do despertar da alimentação em comunhão com a nutrição da nossa alma. E eu não vou falar muito dele não, porque ele já fala por si, né? Um médico que, além de ser do Conselho de Medicina Holística dos Estados Unidos, ele também é um xamã, um yogi desperto e um rabino, ou seja, a espiritualidade faz muito parte da vida dessa pessoa que leva muito conhecimento para o mundo todo. You're welcome. It's such a
nice to be
pleasure
here.
to have you here.
Good. It's a joy to be here.
Yes, it's our joy as well. Gabriel, at this time in the planet that it's going all this shift of perspective, the people that is already awakened is like happy to live in this moment. And the people that didn't wake yet, it's like a kind of lost. How is to manage all those information at this time in the world?
We have a situation where there's more darkness and there's more light. They tend to rise to meet each other. And there's a lot of people awakening and seeing both with diet and spirituality that it's absolutely necessary to take the world into the next step. As a result of that, we're seeing, really in the last few years, a huge spread of veganism. Okay, and I just found out that almost 8% of the people in Brazil, which is very, very high, are already vegan, okay, which is extraordinarily good. So when you look at that, why is that happening? Because that's the diet that's best for spiritual life. Interesting enough, it's also the diet that's best for fertility. Now, because when you eat lower on the food chain, you have less pesticides, herbicides, and radiation. So in a sense, the power of the vegan world, which is the diet, but also it's connected to a way of life, and that's why I call it spiritual nutrition, particularly the live food, organic vegan, is then better preparing people to create and maintain a high level of the species. Because we have to survive. Whereas if you're going to eat junk food, white flour, white sugar, pesticide, herbicide, you're actually going to get less fertile. I mean, that's just what's going on as a fact. So we're not just talking about consciousness, but we're the ability to be fertile, to create a new level of being on the planet. So all this is happening at the same time. So the consciousness is expanding because it has to. Following the consciousness expanding is the live food, organic, veganic diet, which best helps you become a superconductor, which is what I talk about in my book. How to be a superconductor of the divine. So it all goes together, you know. Now, when I wrote that in 1986,
Wow.
It was a little ahead of the curve. Right?
Yes.
But now it's like people are like yourself are understanding and promoting this because it's a deeper level of truth. Because in every generation, we're given the medicine that can heal that generation. And the live food vegan diet is the medicine and is the diet for healing this generation and also for the future. So that's what's happening. You know, it's spiritually, it's agriculturally, it's on, the whole ecology is uplifted when we eat this way. But what we're talking about is how to eat in a way that sanctifies all of life. How do we eat in a way that uplifts the web of life on the planet? And organic, veganic live food vegan diet is a diet that best uplifts the whole planetary network of light and life. So that's what's happening. It's beautiful.
That's beautiful. That just blows like a flower, right?
Yes.
When you realize that, it's just like...
That's right.
And in the beginning, it's normal to feel lost and to don't know what path to take.
Mm-hmm.
What is your tip? Like, because food is not only about eating.
Right.
So how should we eat properly?
So the first thing is to understand we can't eat our way to God. Okay? It's part of the picture. And so the idea is to eat in a way to become a superconductor of the divine. Okay? And eating in a way that sanctifies all of life. Okay? You don't sanctify life by killing animals. So that's the difference. So how do we eat in a way that makes everything sanctified, that uplifts everything? Okay? So that's key, because what we eat affects the whole planet and affects our consciousness. What we eat affects consciousness, how we think, and how we act. So if we're eating in a way that's uplifting humanity, and the animal world, and the plant world, and the living planet, then everything is uplifted. So it's a diet that actually is healing for the planet and for ourselves. So that's an easy way to kind of begin to understand how to go about it. In general, because again, what we eat affects our consciousness. So it's really important. Yeah. But you have to have a certain consciousness to know to eat in a certain way. So it's a little bit of a circle. But my research is that when people actually switch to this organic, veganic, live food, vegan diet, there's much more interest in spiritual life. And there's a reason for that, many levels, okay? But one reason that we don't usually talk about is that when you're doing live food, you are actually getting more what we call biophoton energy, the radiations from the food. And the cosmos is all from biophoton energy. So when you eat and you're increasing your biophoton energy, that makes you have a bigger link with the cosmos. So naturally, you have that tendency to be more spiritual and be interested in that. And then according to a person's tendencies, they'll choose this path or that path. So, but a foundation to all the great paths of liberation is still a live food vegan diet. You know, the ancient rishis from India, they were vegan live foods. The Taoist masters, vegan live food. The original biblical diet, vegan live food. And so it goes on like that. So it's not an accident. So people begin to move back in that way. The Essene diet was like that. So from a spiritual interest, you begin to choose a diet that supports your spiritual life. So you have that, but you have the other way, which is just eating that way opens you up to more spiritual. So it kind of goes both ways.
That's amazing. Yeah. Spirituality. What is to live in this path, in your words?
There are different levels of understanding it. You know, from an enlightenment point of view, we're talking about the ability to be in the nothing and the something simultaneously. So it's like holding the duality, the paradox. So it's not just being here and ignoring down here, or it's not just being here and not ever seeing here. So it's important we see the world of absolute reality and of the temporal reality of the material plane, and bring the holiness of the world of the upper reality into the physical. Other way around, once you have the view of seeing the divine in all things, you elevate the material back up to the physical, up to the spiritual. So they're not separate. The idea is to hold both knowing this is temporary, but this is the absolute, but fill the temporary with the divine, with the light of God, and that way we uplift the world.
Spectacular. And when we start to understand how the energy flows in our body, and understand what kinds of energies are there, the things comes more, not easily, but I think one point to understand outside is to understand our chakra systems, right? And how is this relation of food, chakras, colors, how should we explain?
It's a great question, and it's something I really talk about in this book. If we see that we are a complexity, and I'm going to mention the chakra systems and we'll get back to it, but we also have 72,000 nadis, which is the channels through which the Kundalini energy flows, and three main ones, okay? And then we see that we have layers of the mind called koshas. They're all integrated. But the chakras are kind of the closest to our physical body, okay? They're not our physical body, but actually you can photograph chakras. So, and that's what I point out here in the book. And so the chakras are also related to our physiology. So the heart chakra is related to the whole neural network of the heart. And so and the throat chakras are related literally to your thyroid. Now, so balancing the chakras actually more directly balances the physical body, the endocrine system. Okay, and from the endocrine system, it more directly balances the neurological system. So by balancing the chakras, it creates a balance for all levels of the physical body because they're so close to the physical. Now, how do you do that? Okay, so one way, and that's what I point out here, is that the colors of the food relate to the colors of the chakras. They tell you what's in the food and the certain foods that are going to affect the different chakras. For example, the green food, that's the heart chakra. So when you're eating the green foods, you're activating and supporting the heart chakra. Now green foods usually, for example, have magnesium in it. Magnesium is the most important mineral for the heart. So you have the green foods activating the heart chakra, but they have the minerals that are best for the heart, the magnesium.
Yeah.
So that's how they're very connected. The root chakra, red, usually has foods that are very high in iron, okay, which is red. Iron is red, okay, right. But it's the base energy. So each food with each color has the minerals, and I'm going to also say phytonutrients in it. That's in addition, that will activate and support that chakra. So by eating this way, we not only help balance the chakras, but we actually feed the chakras.
Yeah.
And that's the key of the rainbow diet. And I know you're doing some very interesting thing with the colors as well, with the smoothies and the juices. And that's perfect because it completely supports the whole idea, of taking in liquids, smoothies, as they say, and juices that are going to have the key nutrients and the key energies for the chakras, and therefore builds and nourishes the chakras.
It's amazing. It's so spectacular that when I read this book, I just combine this with the juices and the smoothies, and why we feel so peaceful when we start a juice fasting, for example. Yeah. What happened with us? It's so amazing. We just can't stop. Like in the third day, we're like flying.
You start to find, well, one of the things that happens actually is we start to detox in a good way. And in a 7-day cycle, for example, all the bile toxins are taken away. really by day 5 to 7. Now, why is that important? Because the bile toxins also affect the mind and the brain. So when that clears, which is day 3, 4, and 5, you start to feel really high and good because the toxins literally are taken out of your brain. And so you start to feel clear again. That's how that works. So it's really good that way in the whole picture.
That's amazing. And what happened with us that when we feed, our food is not clear, we just want that kind of food, and when we start to clean up, we want that kind of food. What happened with us?
Well, it's a mysterious question and answer, but I'm going to add something to the chakra discussion. We'll kind of clue in. When your chakras are balanced, your subtle bodies become balanced, and your whole aura becomes balanced. Now, when that happens, you're better able to be in communication with the divine, the cosmos. Now, as you're juicing, besides erasing the cell memory for your addictions, which takes 5 to 7 days, you're opening yourself up to the divine flow, and that naturally brings you to wanting more of the right diet, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And that's how people get motivated, because they're, okay, I'm connecting, and the divine messages, this is the way to eat to further connect. So that's why people are drawn to eating, juicing, using smoothies in that way, because the subtle bodies are working, everything is alignment, and that more alignment allows more divine flow, and the more divine flow encourage you naturally, energetically, to want more. Now, it works just the opposite. Okay, so I call it the culture of death and the culture of life and liberation. So the juice is the life food of life and liberation. You want that because you can feel it. In the same way, when you're eating junk food, it comes from a lower consciousness. So you start vibrating at a lower consciousness, and then you draw the lower consciousness to you. And that's why people stay stuck in the culture of death diet, because they're resonating there. A fast gives a person a chance to free themselves from this lower vibration and start to taste the higher vibration.
Yeah.
And when that happens, then they're drawn to it.
Yeah.
So that's the power of a fast. It erases your cell memory and helps you connect to the higher vibration, and then you're pulled to it.
That's amazing. And it's not interested for the mass, to control the mass. If they start to eat living foods then, huh? Because you start to connect with another kind of consciousness.
Right, and that pharmacological medications for, 20% of the high school students in U.S. are on pharmacological drugs because it disconnects them from the truth. Okay, now do they know that? At some level they actually do know that. At the level, of the general public, they don't know that. So what you do affects your consciousness, okay? And so when you make the shift, like with the smoothies, like with the green juices, you're connected in. So you understand that way. They also understand it the other way.
Yes.
If you get what I'm saying here, it's important. But the general person doesn't understand that. So even making the choice to do juices and smoothies, the rainbow juices and smoothies, requires a little bit of a shift in consciousness. You don't have to know a lot, but you kind of know that's a good idea.
That's my goal. That's the thing that makes me wake up and say, yes, let's go for it. And I really appreciate your work. I could stay here talking about so many good things that you're doing, like the diabetes cures, and also the jejuns, fasting, né? And also the Tree of Life, California, and now in Brazil doing things like really proper for this time in the world.
Right, so our work in really the Tree of Life, Arizona, do we have Tree of Life in California?
California, no?
No, Arizona. But it's okay, it's close,
okay.
it's close.
Okay, I want to go there anyway.
Well, we're in the mountains. It's nicer than California, actually. We're in the mountains. We're 4,000 feet up, and it's very clean and really beautiful. But we have programs going all over the world. We have 13 programs all over the world to help people shift to the organic, veganic way of life, and again, to prevent diabetes. Here in Brazil, we have a Tree of Life Foundation that actually has a program to help people kind of reverse their diabetes, you know, with diet. So it's a non-medical program, which is safe. The key is, in the culture of death, people believe you can't heal from diabetes, and all you need to do is just keep taking insulin. And you actually lose, what we call the culture of death, you're losing 8 to 19 years off your life.
Wow.
That's culture of death, okay? And what we're saying, you know what? It doesn't have to be that way. There is a culture of life and liberation where actually you can reverse the process and bring your blood sugars back to normal and reverse the diabetes. Now, research in my newest book on diabetes, we show that in 3 weeks, 61% of the non-insulin dependent are no longer diabetic. That's pretty significant.
Yeah.
Okay? And 24% of the insulin dependent. Now that's just 3 weeks. It gets better after that. But the point I'm making is, in the culture of life and liberation, it's a different paradigm. Now why is it different? Because we put the soul at the center and not materialism. If you're going materialism, that's a culture of death, and there's no cure.
There's no cure.
If you put the soul at the basis and you're ready to actually change your diet, indeed there's a cure. By definition, you know, if 61% of the people are cured in 3 weeks, there's a cure. And I mean cure classically. The allopathic definition is a blood sugar less than 100 and no medications. That's our definition. We'll use that. 61%. But that's in the culture of life and liberation. You have to love yourself enough to want to heal yourself.
Oh, that's amazing.
And that's really the key. See, and if you can't do that, you don't really care about a diet that's going to elevate you, because you're not loving yourself enough to want to heal yourself. So that's the culture of life and liberation. The soul's at the center. The divine is at the center. And then it's worth living for.
You have to believe.
Yeah.
You have to believe.
Yeah.
I believe in your work. Count on me here in Brazil.
Okay.
I hope to see you soon. And thank you for everything. Gente, a Detox das Cores só existe porque eu realmente me inspirei nesse livro, que é a Nutrição Espiritual, que vocês podem encontrar na livraria. Aqui embaixo no vídeo vocês têm a Tree of Life Brasil, que é a fundação que traz o Gabriel. Faz um trabalho maravilhoso, ele vem todos os anos praticamente, né? Todo ano ele está aqui? Agora sim. E you're more than welcome to Natural Vibe, because you were a natural viber.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time.
I'm very, very impressed of how much you understand and that you're sharing this with so many people. It's a really gift to the world. So blessings on expanding your work.